fine. All right. The first thing I want to say is that we were having this conversation at dinner a little while ago, and somebody talked about running into a wall, and once you run into a wall, you go around. So I'd like to address that real quick as far as my personality and my own philosophy. I ran into a wall recently, and so what I did is I got back up. After I finished rubbing my head, I ran into the wall again. Second time, same result. So, being a smart person, I did the same thing again. And my philosophy, and this is something important for you all to understand, is that's how I am. And that wall finally came down. So I'm not the kind to go around anything. My whole philosophy, my whole life's philosophy, my personality is going right through blunt force. And that's kind of how I've lived my life, and that's how I've been as a teacher with my own students. And I'm really, really glad to see a bunch of college students here, because the message that I'm going to give you today is mainly for the college students. 3 things I want you to remember. Number 1, Common Core sucks. Number 2, high-stakes testing sucks. Number 3, data walls suck. You remember those 3 things and you'll be a great teacher, I promise. So that being said, Trudy, I'm glad you're enjoying this. And the truth is I had to come up with a whole new speech because Trudy pretty much stole mine. That's okay, I'm prepared. I had several speeches prepared. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm really excited to be here and I'm really excited to be talking to all of you, but I'm also really sad. And the reason I'm sad is because I'm the kind of person, like I just described to you, I'll keep running into the wall because that's just my personality. I'm built that way. And I thank my mother for that. She made me who I am. But I realize not everybody has my personality. And so I'm sad because I know there's a lot of teachers out there who live in fear on a daily basis. And they live with that fear, and that fear affects them, it affects their family, it affects their marriages, it affects their relationships with their siblings, it affects their entire lives. And that's what makes me sad. And it's that sadness that actually makes me want to fight. The idea of having people living and doing the thing that they should be loving and going home crying and going home and popping Ativan is heartbreaking. And I'm not exaggerating. If you talk to enough teachers, you'll come to the same conclusion. You'll understand just how sad our profession is. Our profession is right now under attack, and it's under attack by corporations. Corporations that see students, especially college students, which is why I'm glad you're here, they see you guys as a profit. They see you guys as a way to make more and more money. And I'm sure before you guys even graduate, there's going to be another exit exam for you guys to pass before you can even become a college graduate. It's just another scam, and this is what we're dealing with as teachers. We have students in front of us, students who we love. We love to the point that, as we saw in Sandy Hook, we're willing to take a bullet for our students. We love our students. They're not just our students, they become our children. And so why we fight for them, why you see so many teachers here tonight, is because those kids have become our kids. And I know a lot of people say, well, if that was my child, I would never let that happen, or if that was my child, I would sue the school. Well, that's the same philosophy I operate under. Those kids who are in front of me are my children, and things were happening to them that I didn't agree with. And it started with the data walls. And data walls, in case you don't know what they are, is that my time limit? That's pretty quick. All right. So data walls, for those of you who don't know, data wall is where your test scores are displayed publicly for everybody to see. And yes, you'll hear some people say, well, they're coded. Now, the coding is nonsense because if you walk by a wall and it's got data on it, and you ask any one of your students, hey, whose number is that? They'll tell you exactly whose number it is. And that's not coded. If every student in the class knows each other's code, and they know exactly what score they're getting, how do you think it makes them feel? And the initial reaction of most people is, well, it's only the kids at the bottom that are being affected by these scores. And that's not the case. One of the students I fought for the hardest was actually one of my top performers. On one test, she scored poorly. Her name ended up on the bottom of the list, and it ruined her. She was devastated. And she was devastated not because she did poorly, but because everybody else saw how poorly she did. In front of the entire class. And that's what data walls are. And I had another student who was the top performer, and she didn't do poorly. She scored high every single time. She scored advanced on MCAS, she scored advanced on ANET. Any test you put in front of her, she scored advanced. And she started getting bullied. Because guess where her name was on the data wall? At the top. Singling her out as a nerd, as a teacher's pet. So any way you slice it, the data walls were detrimental to the learning process. And that's something that I need to get across, especially to those of you who are going to become teachers. We don't get into this business to humiliate our children. We get into this business to nurture the mind, to create and foster better learning environments, and to promote learning for their life, not just for that period that they're in front of you. So if we dissuade them, if we teach them to pass a test, what we are essentially doing is killing their love of learning. And I need you all to be really aware of that. And as you hear teachers talking, as you hear Barbara talking, as you hear Pazzi talking, think about that. What is testing doing to our culture? What is testing doing to our environment? And who is gaining from this? Because it's not the teachers. It's not the teachers that are gaining, and it's not the students that are gaining. And the proof that the students are not gaining from all the testing is with the professors. They'll be the first ones to tell you. The students are coming to them and they don't have the same skill set that like my generation came in with, which is creative thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, being able to think on your feet. Because you're instructed to do things in a very formulaic manner. A 5-paragraph essay that starts like this and ends like this. That's not teaching. That's scripted, robotic, scripted teaching. And we need to move away from that. And what we need to move closer to is authentic learning and natural teaching, where we foster relationships with our students. So as you leave today, at 8 o'clock, not now, as you leave today, keep thinking about that and talk to teachers. And anytime you start hearing people badmouth teachers, think about what teachers are really going through in this country. Because it's not just in Massachusetts, it's not just in my city in Holyoke. We're one little piece of a gigantic puzzle. Billions and billions of dollars being made off the backs of teachers and students. And we, together, collectively, as a society, can put an end to this. And it starts by being educated, it starts by listening and talking to each other. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.